We're versatile, man. We're agile. We can do anything.
Hi.
What's going on?
Yeah, very fine, very fine. We're in a beautiful place in Basel.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very exciting to be here with you. I don't know, I'm really curious to know what is your artistic practical, because I follow you for many years, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. So what's going on?
Well, like you said, we're here at Basel. We're right on top of Basel, actually.
Wow, yes.
Right down here. Have you been here before?
Yeah, I think 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm just starting to work in art world as a journalist, and I came here with my colleagues, and wow, Basel is the best fair in the world. I visited other fairs, but Art Basel is, I think that it's the best in the world, of course.
I haven't checked it out yet, but I've been to Art Basel Miami, and that's nowhere near as good, I hear, as the Basel. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Nothing is Basel in Basel.
Right?
Yeah.
So many people in America think that Art Basel is like that in Miami. Like that's the Art Basel.
Okay,
so when I said I'm going to Art Basel, they're like, isn't that in November in Miami? And I'm
Miami.
like, no, there's a city called Basel where the thing started.
But it's not exactly as in Basel.
But anyways, yeah, I came out here specifically to talk to you about the project that we're launching, that we're announcing here, RIP, as we have right behind us. As it says, we're fully launching on September 4th. But RIP in general is a creative lab, I guess we can call it, started by me and my business partners as a venture to explore the intersection between music and art, as cliche kind of as that sounds, but in a more deep, direct, meaningful way of bringing art and music together for a real collaboration, a real conversation between the two, not just a musician hiring an artist to do a cover and then forgetting about it or whatever, but actually world building together from the very inception of a project where we want to listen to what an artist wants.
So is
what
the
their
idea
goals
that
are.
visual art
Exactly.
is connected with the musical side of the artistic
In every
project?
way, not just even the visuals on the cover, but the way that the album is rolled out, the world that is built around the album, that the fans can then live in. You know, it strengthens the bond between the listener and the musician, the fan and the artist, so much, and it's greatly overlooked.
Yeah.
There's a huge vacuum in the music industry when it comes to visual art, especially now that all music is streaming.
Yeah.
We don't, nobody has physical album covers anymore, or vinyls. There's no booklet. Nobody's reading linear notes anymore. The thank yous that used to be in there, all the extra photos, all that is lost, and we have instead, different sorts of content.
So we can say that you are working on something that has a nostalgic side, because
To an extent, but
but in the other way, you do in a digital way, so in a very innovative manner.
Yeah, I mean, we're going very forward. We're going to be integrating blockchain into things as well, but we're also going back, as you can see on this screen here, like an old school zine. So like a media arm of the RIP will be this media arm called Off the Rip, here where I conduct podcasts and also do media coverage of concerts and music events and art events and stuff like that. But this, as an example, is a very old school representation of, like a handmade zine.
Okay,
you just print off at a Kinko's or something. I'm making these myself by hand. So yes, this is a very nostalgic feel. The idea of, reading the linear notes on an album is a nostalgic, I guess, concept. But we're not looking to just bring back the past. We want to see what's possible with that same kind of modus operandi of what they were trying to do by that, but in a new future context.
Okay,
so
of course.
It's really exciting to be here and announcing it at Basel, of course, the biggest art fair in the world. So it's a really important time.
It's the right place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wow. And so do you collaborate with a lot of musical artists?
Absolutely, yeah. I've always collaborated with a lot of musicians since the beginning of my career. My actual love of art started as a love of album covers.
Album covers.
Like I grew up in a very small town, middle of nowhere, not a city around that had a museum. There was no fine art. There was no, like fine painting. Nobody really, appreciating that in a small farming community of 900 people at the time I was living there. And
it's been a long path.
it's been a very long path. And I kind of forgot where I was going with that. Why was I talking about where the fuck I'm from?
So it was a necessity for you.
Yes,
starting a research on visual artists.
My only outlet, or my only way, or the only things I saw, I guess I could say, that was representative of art was on the cover of albums in magazines, stuff like that. I wasn't familiar with that fine art world. So I grew up in the early stages of my life, my early teens, saying I wanted to grow up and make album covers. That's what I wanted to do, thinking that there's probably a lot of money in it. You must be hugely famous if you'll find out a lot later that there's zero money in it. Most album covers are actually created by the record label themselves and the design studio and stuff like that. But my interest in this spans back that far. Man, I didn't get any sleep last night, so I keep on losing my train of thought. So anytime you can help me out and remind me what the fuck we're talking about, that would be great. But
so you mixed
yeah, the musicians, working with musicians. I always worked with a lot of musicians. My love of art started with music. That's why I was going on that direction. My love of art started with music. And I was really into music as a kid, more so than visual art. I was just happened to be better at visual art. I wasn't good at music myself. I tried, but I
me
just...
Me neither.
You have too much practice and too much pressure, and a recital came up where I was supposed to... Exactly, the competition part is where I just gave up. I quit. But because of my love of music and then my natural proclivity towards visual art and not being happy just being a fan, a standby fan, I wanted to interact with the music. I wanted to participate, exactly. So I always was seeking out artists, musicians, musical artists. I was always seeking them out, trying to speak with them, getting in touch with record labels, even as a young child, as a 13, 14-year-old, starting websites.
It was not easy to enter in this war and...
Well, actually, to be a little contradictory, it was actually super easy at first because it coincided that time in my life, I was around 13 years old, and it coincided with the internet, the first wave of the internet. The internet just came out. And I got the internet right away and just kind of was studying it a lot and figuring it out. And I ended up learning HTML enough to make my own websites. I learned Photoshop so that I could make, headers and designs for my websites. And then I used the websites to review music albums. And then I would find the emails to the record labels, really easy to find back then. Early, first wave internet, there was no scammers, there was no spam, there was no, getting viruses or anything like that. So people trusted everything. And I have a feeling that when I would write these record labels, they had no idea that they were talking to a 13-year-old in the middle of nowhere in a very small town. But I was able to get through to these people very easy because it was the very beginning of the internet. I bet you they weren't even getting many emails at that point. So they got an email from somebody who had a website. They were probably like, wow, this is legit, back then. So I was getting, tons of free CDs in the mail, just mailboxes full of free CDs, because I was I review CDs. If you send them to me, I'll review them or whatever. And it was my way of getting tons and tons of music. So it was relatively easy at that point. Later on in life, then, my love of music brought me multiple places along the way. I hosted a radio show for the local college station when I was only 16 years old and stuff like that. But then later in life, growing up in my 20s, I started going to an art college and getting more serious with my art practice. But then after that, even while I was in art school, all my friends were musicians, all of them. I didn't have any friends that went to the same school as mine. They all went to the music school. So I was surrounded by music still. But once I got out of college, my main clients were record labels, bands, those kind of things. So I've ended up doing quite a few, major record covers, or I guess not major, but important, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Album covers and got some notoriety for that. And that is part of what leads us into RIP, because I have a lot of industry connections. I have a lot of friends and bands. We're already speaking with, new bands or not new bands, but bands that are coming to us wanting to release albums with us, original content with us already. And that's all just because of the connections I've made through the record industry.
In your career, you worked for a lot of artists. I don't know,
Yes.
you're able to quantify this amount. I don't know.
Like an amount?
How many cover did
That's
you?
a good question, actually. I mean, I really should do, like, I've been meaning to do that, actually. I don't know how many album covers.
It's impossible.
It might be impossible because there was a time, when I was in my early 20s, maybe late teens, where I was just doing covers for all my friends, just anything for free, So, I mean, who knows how many were out there then. But...
or maybe talking about...
when it became serious was really, like, I did an album cover for Prince, and that was, like, the first very serious album cover that I did. And then after that, I was able to do covers for, like, musicians who are big within certain
And how did
circles.
you get to work with Prince?
Yeah, with Prince. So I was living in Minneapolis, Minnesota at the time, and that's where Prince lives.
Okay, yeah.
That's where Paisley Park is, outside of Minneapolis. And I was friends, or I became friends with this girl who happened to be his photographer. He would take her on tour. She would be around him all the time taking photos for whatever reason. Like, he just wanted somebody always taking photos. She was on call for him at any time. Like, called her up, she had to go take photos. But I was friends with her, and through her, I guess, she showed him my work, and then I got a call one day from his team saying, "Are you interested in doing
Incredible.
this?"
I think that it was a incredible moment when you see this.
Well, it actually jump-started my career, because at the time I was still a waiter in restaurants. I served in restaurants for 13 years after college, all the while, practicing my art and, like, working as little as possible with a flexible schedule that a server can have.
Yes, of course.
So,
Yes, but you never back down in these years, so you always strive to reach your goal.
Yes, exactly. But that was the job with Prince is what allowed me to then quit the job, because it paid well enough that I was able to. I take that back.
Keep doing your stuff.
Well, yeah, but I take it back. It didn't pay well enough that I should quit my job. I was young and foolish and was like, "This is tons of money. I'm gonna quit my job and move to California," and that's what I did. I quit my job and moved to California, but I mean, by the time I got to California, I was broke again, but it got me there. So, I mean, it's genuinely, the funds from Prince, he never knew it in his lifetime, but, I'm grateful to him, because without him, I wouldn't have been able to do, I probably would still be here, but I might have just taken longer. You know what I mean?
Okay. Oh, wow. And now that you are here, which are the artists you collaborated?
Yes. So
I don't know if you can show us.
Yeah, sure.
Something that you are...
Well, let me explain what we have here. So on these screens, on these first two screens, this was a conceptual project that kind of kickstarted the idea of what this label could be. And to do that, we came up with, like, a project, or a case study almost, I guess you could call it, where I picked 8 albums that were super influential to me and that I kind of have some connection to in some way. From the past, already released, nothing to do with me, but I used my own artwork and redid the covers. Okay. So what we're seeing here is Kendrick Lamar.
So you rethink a cover that's already
exists. So these are all albums that have been released that I reimagined covers for.
Wow. And these are a collage or digital collage?
Everything I do is hand done. And then I bring it into digital, and we'll do some digital stuff. Yeah. So, like, that's actual painting and stuff like that.
And what is this album?
That was Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick Lamar?
That was Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yes. And the reason I did that was because that piece that was on the top, that's one right here, that was actually an illustration that I did of Kendrick Lamar for the New York Times when that album came out. Wow. So it's an actual connection. Yeah. This is Sepultura Roots. Used part of the logo in there. This is Ice Cube.
Ice Cube, yeah, of course.
Of course. And Kendrick. So on this screen we have Slayer.
So do you like hip hop music, or?
I like all music. Yeah, I like hip hop a lot. I like metal a lot. I like alternative.
Because I see maybe
electronic.
Yep.
Well, Slipknot's right there. So I redid a Slipknot cover, a Slayer cover. What else do we have? Pusha T. So that's hip hop again. So yeah, I love Pusha T. But hip hop and metal, I would say, I like my two main colors. Yeah, but this is a really good point. Is that I try not to subscribe to like just any one genre of anything, and that goes beyond just music. But I really challenge myself to go beyond my own taste, even like to explore things that don't seem like they like that I don't look at and say, oh, that's for me, or like, oh, that's gonna whatever. I might look at it and be like, what the, or like, that's not for me even. But if something gets enough acclaim maybe, or the right people are talking about it, or for some reason it seems to have a really cultural value, I'll force myself to listen to it, to understand it at the very least. If I don't like it still at the end, I want to understand why does the culture like this. So when it comes to music, I listen to everything. Like I'm listening to a lot of African jazz flute music in the mornings lately and stuff. I listen to noise music where it's literally nothing but noise. And then, you know, hip hop and metal, alternative, everything in between, electronic, all of it. But I really do challenge myself to go outside of my own taste in order to because
discover new things.
Exactly. And it's all, you know, it's all so I can just cannibalize it, so I can just take everything from it. It's not, you know, it's like there's something there for me, I'm going to extract it from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And also too, so that I'm relevant, it helps me stay super relevant, so that no matter what, even if something's not meant for me or I feel it's not meant for me, that when I'm having a conversation with somebody who it was meant for, I'm not out of a cultural dialogue, or I can use a signifier from that subculture genre in my own to have a conversation.
Wow. So you get to collaborate with artists you liked, and you can generate new things together. Is I don't know, a mix of energy that generates something new in some way. In Reaper, for instance, happened something like that. I don't know, a case you work with an artist and basically, I don't know, you are not an artist that surprised you during the work. I don't know, something
Not
interesting
quite,
that happened during this
not
project.
Quite yet, but I'm excited for that to happen. Like, you know, I do want to release all kinds of music, and we want to support and embrace all kinds of genres of music, whether or not it's my taste completely, you know. And I do hope to be surprised along the way. But we are talking with musicians already and legitimate bands. Nothing I can say on the record yet, but things that are very exciting and do go outside a little bit of the box, where it's a more experimental stuff. And I'm also working on my own album that I'm going to release on RIP.
Can you tell more about it?
Yeah, for sure. It's well, I shouldn't say album because I'm unsure of the release strategy yet. But I already have released one album. I have one album, but it was a completely collaborative album.
So you are also a musician?
No, I conned musicians into doing this for me. What I like, I was a bicycle commuter for a long time in Los Angeles, which I know here it's nothing to you guys. Everybody's a bicycle commuter, but in Los Angeles it's crazy. It's an insane thing to do. But I was always trying to make art while I was bicycling, so I was taking videos and photos or whatever, and I just got around to the point of wanting to gather all of the information from my surroundings somehow. I don't even know why, and I just started recording sounds, noises, jackhammers, alarms, just noises, and I didn't even know what I was doing. And once I amassed a amount of them, I had an idea to edit down, curate basically a group of sounds, and then use that same group of sounds to send to a multitude of artists and tell them, basically I gave them a set of rules then. I said, you can use these sounds, any of them, as many of them as you want, as little of them as you want, but you cannot use anything else to make the music. You can manipulate these sounds in any way you want. You can literally do anything, but it has to be, you can't add anything, but vocals if you want. So I got 22 different musicians, all kinds of musicians. The album ended up having like actual pop songs on it. Like some musicians were able to turn that into like pop music. Okay. Some of it was straight noise, but I had big names on it. Everybody from like Ghostman was on it, but under his other name, Eric Ghost. Chelsea Wolfe was on it. Who else was on it? Trent Moeller was on it. So some big names was on it, I was collaborating with already. So my second project, the one I'm working on now, is an extension of that, but it's coming together a little differently because I'm being a little bit more loose and free with it. I already have tracks from 1, 2, 3 musicians now. I actually just got one in my email literally right before our conversation. I was listening to the newest track and it's fucking awesome. It's a band called Presser. yeah, super good. But I already have 1, 2, 3 tracks from different artists. I have a 4-song EP that I collaborated with a noise musician.
Okay.
So we just need to figure out release strategies. And given, you know, the climate of how music's released these days, I think I want to try to play along with it a little bit and release, you know, a string of singles, maybe an EP, and then let them build up and release the album later on. But it'll be a really fun project to work on with RIP at the launch of RIP and use it as another case.
So they are releasing together or not?
Well, we're launching on September 4th, and at that point, we might already have some singles out. I don't know, but we'll definitely be releasing some maybe physical goods will be available on September 4th. We'll have some definitely t-shirts. We haven't talked about the t-shirts yet. We'll definitely have t-shirts, probably some vinyl. These zines that we're seeing here will be on the website on September 4th.
Because RIP is composed by album, vinyl, but also wearable stuff.
Exactly.
And a lot of things.
We haven't touched on it yet, but I've worked a lot with the fashion industry over the last decade as well. Music and fashion have been the main things, I would say. I've worked with Alexander McQueen, which is like the streetwear division, or was, I guess, the streetwear division of Alexander McQueen was a big one. But right here on the screen, we can talk about that. That's a collaboration I did with Julius that was actually just released, but it wasn't released. I guess they released the imagery itself, but it's actually part of the pre-spring 2025 collection. So it goes on sale in December. But these pieces were with them. We just finished this collaboration. And then on the end screen, you can just see a example of one of my designs on a shirt.
Wow, fantastic.
So we're going to be doing really high-end, high-quality T-shirts that are more like, we're going to refer to it as like wearable art prints, right? Because it's really important that the art is, the utmost quality on the shirt and lasts really well. The shirts have to wear in well. Pay attention to every detail. We'll expand into other sorts of wearables in the future. We'll see.
Wow. Well, it's a very multidisciplinary way to do art.
Exactly.
And mix media.
Well, and this is really bringing it all together. We covered a lot of things. I do all these things, and I've always done all these things. And, we realized like we need to consolidate this in a way, and it's really helped me be able to think about my own practice too.
Very challenging, I think.
Yeah, well, it's challenging when you don't have this, organization. Okay. But now we have the organization, and it's easy for me to think about. I think about RIP as having like 4 pillars. And if I can remember them right now, I'll tell you. It's the reissues, which is the RIP reissues here that we're seeing, where it's existing albums that are retrofitted with new contemporary art in a attempt to have the album seen in a different light. So that's one arm, and we're already speaking with record labels to make these a reality. And then the second is off the RIP, which is, like I was saying, the media arm, the podcast, doing the interviews, the zine here, as you see, going to festivals, doing media coverage. Hopefully that grows in the future. And then we have the original releases, which will be RIP originals, exactly like it sounds like my album that we were talking about would be an original. Other bands that come and want to release new original material will be the RIP originals. And then we'll have the wearable art prints. So the 4 pillars. And everything else that we do fits into one of those categories in some way.
Yes, wow, incredible. It's a challenging project, but it's really, really interesting.
We've been working for about a year and a half to get it down succinctly. I think, my business partners probably had it down earlier than I did. It takes me a long time to get things consolidated because I think in such a nebula. Everything's just floating around freely in here. And then when it comes time to do stuff, I have to put it in the places, and it helps to have people along the way. So that's what makes the project strong, is that we have all the elements in place for this to be a success.
Really ambitious.
Really ambitious.
Do you think there are some artists that did something like that in the past?
That's a great question.
Or you think that you are trying to innovate?
I'm a trailblazer. I'm the first. No, it's a really good question. Like, I didn't do research on whether or not a visual artist has ever started a record label, or
it's really, really strange, particular.
Yeah, it's a really I don't know. I'm sure artists have been parts of startups of record labels, but to have a record label, a whole creative label like this that's built around an artist, Like, this is built around me. It's not like we're just launching a record label and we have to figure out what it is. It's like, we know what this is because I've been doing it so long, you know? So I don't know if there's ever been a record label that it's like, you know, based around the art of a particular artist, basically, but around the vision. I won't say it's not based around my art because, like I was saying, we have other bands we're speaking to where I won't be involved in the art, and that's fantastic. That's fantastic. But it's my vision at the end of the day. It's a vision that I've been building like all my life, you know? Wow. Like I was saying, you know, 13 years old, starting those websites. Like, to me, RIP started at 13. So
it's a good goal. So
yes, yeah. We're at the
good batch.
Exactly.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you, dude. What's your favorite? Like, what music do you listen to?
I listen pop music, indie music. I don't know if you know the genre.
I know
British pop.
Throw me some band names
like
or some musicians.
A band I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Alt J.
Yeah.
British pop.
Sure. Okay.
And I really like it.
Do you have
into
a favorite?
this kind of music? But I have a lot of friends that listen for hip hop music, so. You know, all the artists,
well, hip hop became like
you name, so about Kendrick Lamar.
Hip hop became the pop music of the world, you know.
Yeah.
But do you have a favorite album cover?
Sorry.
Do you have a favorite album cover by chance?
Favorite album cover?
If you had to say.
I think no.
Not really?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know because I don't know. I start listening music that CD are not so spread. They are the new generation of streaming music. So. I have to confess that
I couldn't gauge your age. I get it, though. That makes sense. That kind of speaks exactly to what the fuck we're talking about right now. The fact that like, you're like, I started listening to music when it was streaming, so I don't know album covers.
Yes. But I think that in this time...
Exactly. That's what we're doing. We're going to fix all that. I want to make the artists that are working with the musicians as big as the musicians. Yeah. They should be. They should be. I mean, most of the time, or used to be, that you would see the album cover before you would hear any music.
Yes.
And they say first impressions are so important.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think so. Yes. Yeah. I mean, in the history of art, for instance, and music, there are a lot of situations which artists works with musician for the cover. I don't know. I think about Andy Warhol, but I think that the most important.
Richard Serra. There's a.
But I think that there are a lot of examples in this way. Yeah. I think that Damien Hirst, for instance, works about I think a Red Hot Chili Peppers album.
Richard Prince. Richard Prince did Sonic Nurse by Sonic Youth.
Sonic Youth.
That's a great album cover.
I like it.
It's a great album cover. It's actually just a great piece of art.
I think there is an history in this field about the connection
somewhat,
between visual artists and music.
The thing about it, though, is that the musician has to really care for that to happen. Like, for the musician has to have that in mind almost from the beginning. Like, in order for a collaboration like that to really work out. It's like the record label or nobody else is ever going to be like, hey, you should work with this superstar artist that's going to be super expensive for us, or like whatever, like it's going to be really difficult for us to get. They're not going to do it. Most record labels are like, you can work with our team. We have a design team, and you one of those guys is going to make your album cover, you know? So what you're talking about, those examples, they do exist, but they're very few and far between, and they used to be a lot more common too. Yeah.
So do you think that your project can have an impact in the music field?
Absolutely. I think it's going to have a big impact, especially after some of the conversations I've had with musicians that we're speaking with. The last musicians I spoke with, I was directly asking what they didn't like about their last record label and stuff like that. And it was a big record label too. And all the things that they brought up were all the reasons that I'm starting this label. And they ate it up. They loved it, you know, like they love to hear that somebody wants to pay attention to all the details with them, the things that they really care about and spend a lot of time thinking about, the details that get overlooked by, you know, corporate record labels and stuff. So I think we're going to have a huge impact on the record label. I think a lot of bands are going to want to release with us once they see what we're capable of and the way that we're rolling out the music we're doing. I think that we're going to become a destination. I think we might get overwhelmed, bro.
Yes, I think that now that we are very close to Art Basel and the visual artistic system in a strict way, I think that your project can have a lot of conceptual aspects that strictly links to the I don't know, the visual artist that is I don't know, is similar but different for the musical industries, and maybe your research is a point of connection between these two words.
Yep.
And the manner you work on music and on visual aspect of music is in a very conceptual way that I think that can be spent not also in a commercial dimension, but also in a strictly artistical way.
Absolutely. I actually viewed that first record I did as an art project. It just turned out good enough that it was like, wow, it's on Spotify now and you can listen to it. Like, but to me, I didn't know what I was even going to get. So exactly what you're saying, like I was expecting it to be an art project, presented in a museum or something, you know, played on the speakers with
that can be exposed.
Exactly.
Talk about in the artistic system and not.
That is definitely something that we will explore in the future too, doing performances and all that kind of stuff, bringing musicians who normally wouldn't be in museums into museums, bringing artists who wouldn't normally be in the club into the club, you know, stuff like that. But
so it can be spent in a lot of situations. And
we're versatile, man. We're agile. We can do anything. That's a wrap. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, David.